AI is very fast, but to do bad things with AI is also very fast. If you don't understand what you're doing deeply, don't go further. Everybody wants to play with cool AI solutions. We don't really understand what are the implications. The big hurdle here is how to control it. Not everybody's repeating it, but there's a lot of folks in the market saying, yes, AI will solve this. The reality is way more brutal than this. What we need to understand is first, second,
Filipe Torqueto, a leader in API management and digital transformation. He brings over a decade of experience in software development. He heads solution architecture at Sensedia, a leading API management and integration firm. He helps organizations expose and orchestrate data and capabilities securely for AI-powered use cases, aligning integration practices with the demands of explainability, security, and trust in the AI era. In this exclusive interview with AI Cyber Magazine, we'll explore a roadmap for companies to successfully implement MCP, moving from context mapping to optimization and scaling. This shift will also fuel the rise of API-first AI, where systems are designed for machine consumption, enabling autonomous integration and real-time adaptation.
if you deep dive a little bit in AI, they repeat the past. They don't build the future. Oh, create me a new book. Oh, it's completely new. Well, it's not. You can see the reference. Developers are not going anywhere. What will happen is the busy work is going to be easier and easier to do with AI.
Philip, welcome to AI Cyber Magazine.
Thank you. I'm honored to talk to you guys.
Awesome. So, Felipe, let's start with a foundational concept. What does API first AI truly mean in practice? And why is this approach a fundamental shift from how most companies have built their AI systems to date?
So AI API first things first, right? API first is not new. API first is in the market for almost a decade now. So I talked a lot about API first, but AI brings another challenge, right? So we usually say about syntax in the API stuff, right? Now we're shifting to semantics. If API first was very important in the past with normal APIs, now is basically even more important because the AI agent and the AI area is going to put this complexity on steroids. So essentially, if you don't get your API first strategy work and to fix the fundamental issues of API enablement or human API consumption, you're going to see a lot of hurdles for the AI era. So now we are shifting from just the majority part of way talking about API syntax to talk about semantics as well. So we are using specific protocols and specific tooling to not just document this API specifically, but also to give the context of the API and the data that this API is sharing. So it's a very important shift on not necessarily the importance of API first. Yes, API first is crucial for many reasons, right? For the software development reasons. Although it's becoming even more important in the AI era because APIs is basically the link between what we want to do with AI. So non-deterministic to deterministic world. So API is the link right now. But also the shift from API first that we used to do the decade ago, it's basically giving steroids to the problem, essentially.
Yeah, while you were explaining that, you spoke about like hurdles. Can you describe just one of those hurdles for us?
Right now, everybody wants to implement AI, right? So you have a POC, you have something. Everybody's talking about AI. AI is the big buzz. The big hurdle here is first, how to control it. AI without control is just a toy, right? So nobody wants a toy in enterprise level. So we want to gain productivity. We want to extract the good part of AI, which is production increase and automation and heavy automation perspectives, right? Because you can implement like with big models, you can implement a lot of things, but how you are going to put the guardrails for autonomous agent. When this autonomous agent is going to make a decision, there is a human in the loop. The APIs and the APIs guardrails and what we are saying that is expanding the governance world is putting those guardrails, those security levels, and how to actually put the AI agents to work in a proper manner. So this is the bigger hurdle for us right now.
Okay, so you spoke about one hurdle, and I really like that you went that way. But I want us to really zoom in again. From all of your experience, you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of digital transformation. What's the biggest misconception that business leaders have about integrating AI, and what are the immediate risks of treating AI as just another application to plug in?
We face this with other topics, right? So cloud migration, for example. I'm going to migrate to the cloud and all my problems will be solved. Now just change the topic cloud to AI. So yeah, I'm going to apply AI for this and all my problems will be solved. Not everybody's repeating it, but there's a lot of folks in the market saying, yes, AI will solve this. The reality is way more brutal than this. There are no single and silver bullets in technology. We have legacy systems, we have disparate systems, we have systems all over the place, cloud and personal data center, all sorts of types of data, personal data, PII data, PCI data, PHI data, all those things and all those complexities. AI is just another step. AI including more complexity and more abstractions. And what we see is basically some folks neglecting the prior steps. For you to go through AI in a proper manner with the guide rails, with everything that it needs to go through to actually use AI at your favor in a secure way. Again, nobody wants an AI agent going wild. You don't want to neglect the baseline. That's why we're including the API first with AI. API first is not just the mentality or just one thing that, okay, now my company is API first. You need to align with the business folks, you need to align with technology, you need to align with your compliance, you need to align with security. So those alignments now are even more important. And what we need to understand is first, it's not a magical wand or a silver bullet. Second, do not neglect what the digital transformation journey is for your company. Oh, but somebody else is using AI to do this and this and this. Okay, if you don't dominate your infrastructure, what you are doing, don't go forward. Just solve the hurdles that you're going in. If you're migrating to the cloud, migrate to the cloud. Oh, we're going to use AI for my developers to increase productivity. Okay, you can use it, but we're talking AI to the business, right? Mm-hmm. So differentiate the applications of AI into your business. You can use AI to increase the productivity of your developers, yes, but when you're talking about AI agents to the external public to solve a business issue that you have is another story. Respect the process. This is the first hurdle. The second one, and this one I heard a lot, oh, this is solved by the cloud, or this is already solved. I have my CRM. They have no idea on how many touch points and where the data that they're ingesting is going to or came from. So this is exactly our touch point, right? So nobody sees Sensedia and nobody see an integration point, right? When they see it, when something bad happens, when a data leakage happens, when an outage happens, and they will realize that integrations are important. So treat your integrations more serious because AI without context and without data is trouble, basically, or is just a toy. Okay, you can see very cool demos, but real data, real guide rails to deal with PII data. This is another story. And how you're going to do that with well done integrations. And there is another one, which is I still see a lot of point-to-point integration. No management, just point-to-point. Nobody's actually giving a specific attention to APIs and integrations. And this is a huge mistake in the AI era because, again, your data is not going to happen or to show up to you magically. You need to pay attention on where this data is going, how it is going, and who is going to attend. So I see a lot of point-to-point integration still, a lot of misconceptions, especially with cloud tools and some vendors that assume that the integration is ready to go. So let's get the CRM implementation. Oh, we're going to implement a CRM. What is the bigger problem with the CRM implementation? Data. So I need to integrate my digital channels, all my channels, to canalize data to my CRM. And after that, you can do something. So think your integration strategically because they will help you or they will slow you down in the AI adoption.
Awesome. I was going to ask you a follow-up question around maybe the consequences of getting it wrong in terms of governance, because I know your company really focuses on governance. And basically, why is governance, the security, the trust and explainability that you mentioned, why is it the single most critical factor for AI adoption? But you just mentioned one key consequence of getting it wrong. So maybe just spend maybe like a minute just telling us more in that regard around the consequences of getting it wrong.
Well, the consequences can be very brutal, like data leakage and security breaches can hurt you a lot. And again, can be something simpler, like your agent that you crafted and put work simply derail in context for you. You don't know where the data is, or it's too hard for the agent to reach the data, basically. There are many ways to derail an AI project without a proper integration. That goes from very bad things like security breaches and reputation and all those things, from your agent or your final product or your final AI project hallucinating or not working the way that you're expecting because your governance is not well done, your integration layer is not well done, and again, is not just about syntaxing an API or have an API get started. Your API now needs to have context, which is the link between those things. So can be more simpler things that you spend money and don't get results, or it can be very bad things, which is okay, now I have a security breach in my hand to deal with. And everything in between, right? Again, think your integrations for AI, essentially.
Awesome. Felipe, so I saw this meme that can't leave my head, right? It had like leaders saying, oh, we want AI. And then they're asking, when? They say, now, so everyone wants AI, right?
Yep.
So I want you, as the expert here, to just really double down on that AI adoption that is often a C-suite mandate. What's the one piece of advice you'd give a C-level executive who wants to lead an API first AI strategy but doesn't have a technical background?
So if I can give one advice is put AI into pieces. Oh, I want to adopt AI. Okay, where? How? What is your outcome? I want to put AI in my business. Okay, without no previous knowledge, without no preparation, usually is not a very good idea. You can experiment with AI around, right? You can respect the journey. So where you want to implement AI. So get used to the term, know what you want to do. So for example, let's implement AI in our internal development team with copilots. This is one AI implementation. Let's get used to it. Okay, now I want to experiment something which is more conversational for my internal teams, like to help your support folks, to help your internal teams. And then you can start to study where AI can enhance your main business. But first, get used to it. Understand the risks, understand why is different, because everybody's want to implement AI everywhere. And again, there's no silver bullet for it. Some normal systems can do the deal. Not just because AI is very good, you're going to expend, I don't know, $1 million to something that works really well today. So respect the journey with AI. Do not cut any corners because it's going to bite you back. And don't go from zero to critical business with AI. Yes, you can have success, but I almost can assure you it's going to fail because you have no experience implementing it.
I agree with you 100% on that. So, moving on to what I know you've really pioneered, which is the roadmap for MCP implementation. How is this protocol different from the API strategies companies have been using for the last decade, like you mentioned earlier? And can you break down the crucial first step of context mapping for our audience to understand better?
It's not a rocket science. Instead of just deal with API syntax, you're doing with semantics as well. So imagine that, of course, I'm doing an analogy here. Imagine that you need to explain for a 4-year-old what is API and what is the data inside. This is what MCP is doing. MCP is the door for AI to understand what this API is for and the semantics of the data, reasons, in order for the model or for your AI agent to use this API according to a specific context. So imagine that you just create an MCP for your account API. So now your agent knows that you have an integration point to manage account data. So you don't need to deal with specific integrations to this API. MCP will do the job. This is where governance start to get ugly and more complex. Back then, we used to work with APIs for humans, right? Developer portals, API documentation, and we naturally have context. Because, for example, if you point a developer, hey, let's create an account with this partner, they understand that they have an API for accounts, etc., etc. AI is not the case. They need a context. So the right protocol for the right job. So MCP is for this. So right now, we are not just developing APIs for human consumption. We are developing APIs for agent and autonomous models to consume. And this is a challenge, essentially. But to explain this is fairly simple. It's semantics, right? So why does API exist? What this API is doing? And this is why MCP was created for. Before MCP, we were implementing by hand, doing our stuff behind the scenes for our agents and our models to understand that these APIs for something. So MCP is just a protocol to streamline the market, essentially.
But let's talk about the transition from context mapping to optimization and scaling. What is the single biggest technical challenge companies face? I mean, at this stage, and how can a robust API management strategy solve it for them?
First, it's a new protocol, right? So there's this, okay, it's new. Let's mature this a little bit. MCP is maturing very fast because it's useful, right? It's very good to give context to agents to consume APIs. So the challenges are many, depends on the cycle and where the maturity of the company is, right? So if you have a very solid API implementation, you have API governance, you are doing integrations in the right way. That is not hard to implement because you have all the documentation, you have your current, right, governance guidelines, and now you need to implement another protocol, which is MCP, giving more semantics to something that you already know. So this is a level of difficulty which is not that big. You need to understand MCP, you need to understand the risks, you need to understand what are the new guardrails that you're going to impose, and how your current governance framework will evolve to attend agents, not just your partners and not just your external digital channels or digital channels that you're using your APIs. The bigger hurdle there is to understand MCP and to shift the mentality of us all that are developing for humans to develop into machine readable and you know uh, giving the proper semantics to the MCP server, implementing MCP server with the right security points, getting the right guardrails, implementing observability. Those are things that are uh, the most common hurdles because it's new. We don't know exactly how to do observability. So this is now think another way. You don't have proper API governance. You are having a hard time to understand your point-to-point integrations. You don't have this strategy. Now there is MCP. My advice is don't do it. Okay, understand your integrations first. Who talks to whom? What are your external APIs, internal APIs? Define your API governance first. Understand what you have in place. Then move to understand another technology. Because again, from zero to MCP, is too much. Okay, so understand what you have. And again, no legacy system is going to disappear tomorrow.
Hold you right there with that thought. I want us to go right deep into that conversation. What's the biggest security threat introduced by autonomous agent to agent communication? Could A2A communication become the new insider threat vector if not governed properly? You've actually hinted on that, but I want you to talk more on it.
MCP opens your front door in terms of risks, right? Because MCP is public visible, but A2A opens your side door. It's like uh, internal threats. Yes, it can leverage internal threats because again, proper governance, guardrails. So let's say you are happy using your agent to get support for your users. If this agent go wild and say to another user data from another user, so what happened? It's public facing, but is your internal agent. There is no external threat. Nobody's attacking you. Your agent is running wild. So it's talking about other people and you have a leakage right there. Guardrails and those stuff, especially with autonomous agents that can take decisions, This process needs, and this is non-negotiable, a human in the loop. There's no way for automations to call directly this functionality. That's it. I don't see this due diligence sometimes. So, oh, my agent is going to do everything. It's not. Oh, I'm going to eliminate all the support guys. Really?
We've seen how that has worked out so far.
Yeah. We have some public examples that public agents are making up programs. They are making up stuff that don't exist. Imagine that you are a credit card company and you have a reward system that is very clear. And now your agent saying that your reward don't work like the way that you propose, work in another way to somebody else. If you don't back your agent, you have a lawsuit right there. Your side door is open with autonomous agents, and we don't really want an AI agent running wild. And other things internally as well, right? So if an AI agent is training your own employees in the wrong way, if they send wrong information to employees, if building misconception or even make up stuff, now you have an employee that is making stuff up, so they're following a rule that don't exist, essentially.
Awesome. Now I'll go on to something that I want you to drop. You're using those very fire analogies, and I want us to continue in that light. What is one controversial opinion you hold about the future of API management in the age of AI?
Yeah, so the one that I've already discussed is when customers saying to me, "Oh, I want to implement API," and I ask, "Okay, how are your APIs?" This is the first glitch, right? So we have a lot of APIs going on, and they're not going to go anywhere. MCP is there; it's another protocol. HOA is another protocol. API governance is not going to go anywhere. We're going to enhance it, and API management style is not going to talk about only API. We're talking about AI. So I have some concepts like AI gateways, right? So how to deal with not just the normal APIs, but for the APIs, the LLM APIs, right? How I put guardrails that are not going to blow out my financials consuming my models, right? Consuming opinion. Those guys are expensive. We know that. So how to put guardrails on that, how to avoid prompt injection, all those things are shifting the way that we do API management already. So we do have an AI gateway already. So this leads to a misconception, right? So we're talking about API the same way, but we are on a different layer. We're talking about different conceptions because we're implementing AI. Now we need to understand that autonomous agents will consume HOA. MCP will link deterministic to non-deterministic. So apply security, apply governance. So I have a specific question that we discuss a lot. How I'm going to guarantee that this agent is actually the agent that had this permission? So how am I going to do authentication and authorization for agents? You, I know that's you. So you have a credential, you give me the credential, I know you, it's you. So how about agents? So how are we going to do authentication and authorization for agents? Data minimization. I still need to do data minimization. Oh, I'm going to apply AI for everything. No, the deterministic computation stuff will remain. So how you link those two words? The shift is already happening, actually. We're talking about AI gateways, we're talking about specific protocols, but will evolve and AI governance will mix within API governance. It's already doing it, but it's going to get worse.
Do you think regulators will eventually sort of require companies to adopt governance APIs for AI accountability, just like financial audits today?
I think it's inevitable, especially in areas that are key areas like healthcare, financial services. Regulations will happen. It's not matter if they will do, it's matter of when and how. That's why, again, I know that this word is annoying, but governance is the key here because in my perspective, regulations are inevitable. They will come. I need to be PCI compliant. I need to get ISO certifications, all those. And more than that, we have data and privacy stuff. Right? In AI, still, we need to follow the privacy rules that exist today. I think the regulation specifically for AI is going to be inevitable because it's like everything technology, right? So we cannot let everything goes wild. We need certain rules, we need certain guardrails to make sure that first we are doing it in the proper way and to help implementation actually. It's not a bad thing. Everybody's kind of lost. Today, if something happened with a specific model, who is responsible? The model builder, you implementing the model, the user. So some folks automatically put regulations as a bad thing, but they're not. They clear the fog over responsibilities and how we can implement in a safe way.
But tell me, how should organizations restructure their teams, not just their technology, but to successfully implement an API first AI strategy?
So first understand that you need to think about integrations. I have a say that every problem eventually is an integration problem.
Ah,
Get any problem, any business issue. Oh, I want a new app. You can develop your app, but this app needs information. It is an integration issue. Oh, I want a functionality that is going to use AI. The data is coming from where? It is an integration problem. So the business needs to understand integration is not a done deal. Think about integrations and APIs in a proper manner because they will facilitate your life big time
or frustrated.
or frustrate your life in a big time. I can give you a simple example with this, the omni-channel perspective, right? I want the same experience whatever channel that I'm using. Website, in a shopping mall, a web app, or a mobile app. Some companies today don't have the same experience. I can almost assure you this is because they don't think about integrations. They let it go wild. I develop one thing in a way, I develop another thing in a way, so they don't talk to each other. Now put this in the AI era is going to be the same problem, but on a steroid. So how many agents are you going to have?
Hmm.
What is the experience? What is the data? Where this data is coming from? Where are you going to see it? The agent is breaking some point. So how you're going to debug it? How are you going to see it? Who is going to be alerted for?
But Felipe, if you had to project 5 years into the future, what's the single biggest disruption to API management space that will be caused by AI, in your opinion?
This concept of AI and APIs and integrations will be even more intricate. So we're going to see more and more use cases that are going to require more and more integration layers, abstractions, protocols, and those stuff. It's already disrupted, but it's going to keep disrupting the integration market in a way that this AI, new conception, autonomous agents, and everything will require new ways to think about integrations, integration governance, APIs, and all those things. So saying that you have an API management, you're okay the way that API management is today is not true because they are evolving. So we are, as an API management company, we are evolving the AI gateway and all those things. This is going to be more intricate, more complex, and more fun to see what they're going to disrupt next. Because the non-deterministic world will live with deterministic world. It's not going to take it away. We need to see how and when it's going to happen because nobody knows essentially.
Awesome. Just to close out this conversation, because I've had a great time chatting with you, what is one thing every company should be doing today to prepare for a world of autonomous real time AI systems? You've really hit it on some of them, but I want you to double down.
Again, pay attention in your integrations. It's not just because we are an API management company, but I worked in many companies in my past. Right now, integrations are becoming even more important.
Do you think that human developers are becoming more important or less important in the integration process today?
They're more important than ever.
Oh.
So those folks that saying that software development is going to end, we are not going to go anywhere. Again, if you deep dive a little bit in AI, they repeat the past. They don't build the future. Who build the future are humans. Okay, so we feed AI with the past. Oh, create me a new book. Oh, it's completely new. Well, it's not. You can see the reference, right? You can see the reference that the AI is using to build the book. Developers are not going anywhere. What will happen is the busy work, right, is going to be easier and easier to do with AI. The developers will have more free time to build what we need to build, which is business capabilities.
Thank you so much, Felipe. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I can't wait for the world to see all we discussed in this call, and hopefully take integrations very seriously as you really, really spotlighted in this conversation. Thank you so much for your time.